You know, every now and then, a story comes along from the pages of history that's just so powerful. It's about a moment when the courage of one person is put to the ultimate test, and in that test, the very soul of a nation is laid bare. This is one of those stories. Okay, so let's set the scene. We're at the turn of the 20th century. The Ashanti people are facing an absolutely impossible demand from the British Empire, which is encroaching on their land. And in the halls of power, well, there's just hesitation. The air is thick with uncertainty, and all the while, the threat is getting closer and closer. And right there, in that moment of total paralysis, when history could have gone a completely different way, a single unexpected figure stepped up and changed its course forever. A quiet voice was about to become a roar. But to really get a grip on her incredible defiance, first we have to understand exactly what she was fighting to protect. And listen, this wasn't about territory or gold in the way you might think. It was about something way, way more sacred. This is the Golden Stool, or Sika Dwa Kofi. Now, what's so fascinating here is that it's not a physical throne for a king to sit on. No way. The legend says it actually came down from the heavens itself, and that it holds the sunsum, the collective spirit, the soul, the absolute identity of the entire Ashanti nation.
And you can tell just how vital it is by the rules surrounding it. It's seen as divine, holding the nation's soul. No one, not even the king, is ever allowed to sit on it, and it must never ever touch the ground. So to give it up, that would be like surrendering their entire past, their present, and their future, all in one go.
So you can imagine what happens when the British governor demands this sacred object, demands the very soul of the people. The men hesitated, but in that moment of indecision, one person, she refused to be silent. Her name was Yaa Asantewaa. She was the Queen Mother, and her role wasn't just about being royal. She was the keeper of her people's story, a custodian of their entire legacy, and really a guardian of their dignity. She knew exactly what was at stake. And with the fate of her nation just hanging in the balance, she rose and she spoke these words. Now, this wasn't some suggestion. It was a rallying cry. It was the speech that shamed the hesitant and inspired a whole kingdom. It turned that moment of indecision into a defining chapter of defiance. And let me tell you, those words lit a fire. What came next was known as the War of the Golden Stool, the final great stand of the Ashanti people against the full, crushing force of British colonial power. And get this, how old was she when she decided to lead an army into battle? 60. Not a seasoned general in his prime, but a 60-year-old grandmother who saw that real leadership isn't about your age or your training, it's about having conviction when it matters most. And for months, they fought. I mean, think about it. Under her command, the Ashanti warriors held their ground against one of the most powerful empires on the entire planet. Her defiance sent ripples across the continent. It was a testament to the power of just refusing to yield. Look, in the end, the empire's military strength was just overwhelming, but a physical defeat is not the end of the story, not even close. The crucial point here is how her legacy was forged, not in victory, but in the nature of her defiance. And this slide just lays it out perfectly. On the one hand, you have the empire's so-called victory. She was captured, she was exiled thousands of miles away, and she died far from home. But on the other hand, you have her true victory. She never bowed. Even in exile, she carried herself like a queen. Her defiance became a guiding light, a compass for generations to come. Her story transformed. It became this incredibly powerful symbol. That quiet, steady refusal to give up what is sacred became a rallying cry for dignity and for freedom that echoed way beyond the borders of her own kingdom. She taught the world that sometimes the greatest courage is simply the refusal to kneel. And this is where her story comes right to us, right here, right now. Because her fight, it raises this timeless, universal question that every single person in every generation really has to answer for themselves. See, we all have a golden stool, something so essential to who we are that it just can't be compromised or surrendered. It might be our culture or the simple truth in an age of misinformation. It might be our language, our freedom, or our basic human dignity. Yaa Asantewaa's story reminds us that history doesn't just bend to power, it bends to conviction. So her legacy leaves us with one final urgent question. Looking at the world today and at your own life, what is the one thing you will never surrender?